and welcome back to the Overcooked Podcast with myself, Bro Kane, where we talk about the most cooked topics coming at you every single week. And this week we've got overcooked, mega overcooked, super overcooked, all the types of overcooked. Let me hit you up with what our topic list is looking like today. We've got a mega power deal between Meta and a nuclear plant. We've got Meta chatbot conversations between yourself and AI now being used to help target ads to you. We've got a Nobel Prize in Physics awarded to a group of people who created a quantum circuit breakthrough many years ago, but awarded now. Stick around for that one. That one's crazy. We've got Harvard researchers who've developed the first ever continuously operating quantum computer. We've got a new tool that makes generative AI models more likely to create breakthrough real-life materials. We've got a concrete battery developed by MIT packing 10 times more power than previously. And we've got Microsoft Azure. Now, if you're a gamer, you better stick around for this one because these stats are crazy. They've delivered the first large-scale cluster with NVIDIA GB300 NVL72s for OpenAI and other generative model workloads. And we've got a breakthrough in gene therapy, slowing down Huntington's disease by 75%. And finally, we've got scientists who've identified a new Ichthyosaur species in Germany. Let's kick it off. First off, on the topic list, we've got a power deal that has been signed between Meta and a nuclear plant. Didn't see that one coming. Meta has signed a 20-year deal with Constellation Energy to buy 1,121 megawatts of clean emissions-free nuclear energy from Illinois' Clinton nuclear plant starting in June 2027. Nuclear power and Meta. No, I didn't really see that one coming. Constellation is one of the largest US producers of carbon-free power spanning nuclear, wind, and solar, and the Clinton plant is a 1,092 megawatt reactor, which is enough to power about 800,000 homes, and it was once saved by Illinois' zero emissions credit program, which is ending soon, and that is one of the reasons why Meta is funding it. So Meta won't use the power directly. It gets clean energy credits added to the grid. That's their main priority. And the deal helps Meta hit their zero emission goals and secure steady power for its AI data centers. The partnership will add 30 megawatts of energy generation, preserve 1,100 jobs, and boost $13.5 million in local taxes. Now, that's pretty crazy. So Meta's not essentially hunting for power here. So they do probably foresee themselves needing a clean source of energy if that time were to arise. But their main goal here is to hit their zero emission goals. And by doing this deal with this power plant, they're one step closer to hitting those goals. An interesting strategy, if you think about it, to trying to show that your company hits zero emissions, because they know they're creating a lot of emissions. So by making investments like this, they can offset those emissions. Pretty interesting strategy. Also from Meta, we've got chatbot conversations, which can now be used for ad targeting. So Meta was quoted saying, "We will soon use your interactions with AI at Meta to personalize the content and ads you see, including things like posts and reels, and we'll start notifying people about this update next week via notifications and emails, which is several weeks before it goes into effect in the middle of December on December 16, 2025. So starting on December 16, 2025, Meta will roll out their AI chatbot chats, voice and text, to target ads on Facebook and Instagram. So sensitive topics, of course, like religion, politics, and health are going to be excluded from those ads, and there will be no opt-out. You can't opt out of this. It's unopt-outable. If you chat with Meta AI, those talks can feed into ad targeting. So talking to AI about hiking, for example, and you'll see more hiking-related ads. Meta AI has about 1 billion monthly users across its apps, but it's unclear how many of Facebook's users are actively using Meta and WhatsApp's users are actively using Meta, but that's the ballpark figure that they've given us. And Meta, astoundingly, has made $46.5 billion in ad revenue last quarter, which is up 21% since last year. And another interesting note, users are apparently now buying more things via chatbots and with OpenAI chats than they were previously. So I don't know if I've ever bought anything from OpenAI. I haven't seen that purchase facilitated. I've definitely used AI to find a good purchase deal, but I could definitely see myself interacting with a chatbot on a page or a chatbot connected to many stores that are helping me find the product that I'm looking for and make the direct checkout after that. That is not something that I think is impossible. So another interesting fact about Meta's AI is some users on Meta AI apparently didn't fully understand how the publicity or how the public version of their conversation might end up on a feed and things like that. So apparently users were accidentally posting private chats to their feed, prompting Meta to add warning pop-ups. Man, you can imagine what kind of conversations might be had with Meta AI that you don't want getting onto your feed. You know, maybe the husband or wife talking about how they might not want to be with their husband or wife anymore and they want to know how to talk about it. Now that's on your feed? Man, good idea, Meta. Maybe add a warning. That feed was replaced last week though with Vibes, which is an endless scrolling feed of user-created content such as AI-generated videos. I haven't seen Vibes yet, but it does sound like a vibe. It also sounds like a lot of AI slop, just saying, might be. Definitely going to be something that probably improves over time. Next up, the Nobel Prize in Physics 2025 was awarded for a quantum circuits breakthrough. So the Nobel Prize in Physics 2025 was awarded jointly to John Clark, Michael H. Deverett, and John M. Martinez for the discovery of macroscopic quantum mechanical tunneling and energy quantization in an electric circuit. That sentence in itself is cooked. They proved quantum effects can happen in real circuits, not just atoms. So in 1984 to 1985, that's a long time ago, that's even before I was born, they built superconducting circuits where electrons could tunnel and occupy discrete energy levels. Proof that quantum mechanics applies on a visible macroscopic scale. And 40 years later, they're getting recognition and have received a Nobel Prize. We spoke about it last week with Stephen Hawking and his gravitational wave theory, and that happens a lot in science. Only many years later, after your theories have been proven or used or robustly tested, are you awarded some kind of prize. And the crazy thing that I hope is if I ever have a breakthrough like that, I hope I don't die of old age before I'm awarded any kind of award. And the thing is, I'm pretty old already. And the chances of me doing a breakthrough like this in the next 10 years is very slim. That'll probably only happen in 30 years from now, maybe. And I don't know if I have 70 years on the clock to wait for my award. But they apparently were able to get an award for this. And I think that's absolutely fantastic because, so many years have passed and then you finally get recognition for something that happened so long ago. And this experiment became the blueprint for superconducting qubits, the core technology behind today's quantum computers, where today's superconducting chips from IBM to Google still use the same physics that these guys discovered. And their work showed a circuit can act like a tiny quantum atom. And this is perfect timing because apparently 2025 is the International Year of Quantum Science. And in regards to quantum science and quantum computing, the next topic is Harvard researchers have developed the first ever continuously operating quantum computer. And to understand why this is so significant, you have to understand that quantum machines have been shackled by a fragile ingredient called the qubit, which can be lost as quickly as a stray proton leaves a trap. So what that essentially means is photons can suddenly disappear, and that makes it extremely difficult to continuously run a quantum computer. So those losses force researchers to reboot systems every few milliseconds, or at best, I think the very longest one that they had was about 13 seconds. And Harvard's team, led by physicist Mikhail Lukin, has now demonstrated a machine that can run for more than 2 hours. And the researchers believe it could run potentially indefinitely. So what this is Harvard physicists built a quantum computer that ran non-stop for over 2 hours, the first continuous operation without rebooting. And prior systems typically lasted milliseconds, or as I said, about 13 seconds was the longest one. And to do this, to run this thing operationally for 2 hours, they used what's called a quantum lattice, which is essentially a conveyor belt and optical tweezers to to continuously replenish lost atoms or qubits at a rate of about 300,000 atoms a second in a 3,000 qubit array. So we got to break this down a bit. What is an optical lattice? Well, an optical lattice is essentially like a 3D egg carton made of laser light. You know those cardboard egg cartons with the dips in them that hold the eggs? Well, each little cardboard pocket, essentially, in the egg carton reference, is a light grid which holds a single atom, and that's your qubit. So imagine instead of cardboard, it's lasers. And these lasers are like invisible walls keeping the atom trapped and evenly spaced so they don't bump into each other. And Harvard's system essentially has thousands of these laser pockets lined up perfectly to create a stable grid of qubits, the foundation of their quantum computer. And optical tweezers are essentially focused laser beams that can grab and move individual atoms when an atom leaks or disappears, which is obviously this common problem in quantum mechanics. Another atom is then pulled in and replaced where it's needed using the optical tweezers, hence the name tweezers. And this essentially lets the system repair itself in real time, keeping the quantum array full and running continuously. So in summary, the optical lattice holds thousands of atoms steadily, and the optical tweezers act like atomic mechanics, refilling missing qubits on the fly. Together, they turn a fragile, short-lived system into one that can run for hours or even indefinitely. Tell me that's not cooked. Next up, we're taking a look at a new tool that makes generative AI models more likely to create breakthrough materials. So MIT built what they call CREST, which is an AI co-pilot that plans and runs real lab experiments. It pulls data from papers, chemistry, and images to design new materials. CREST uses robotic tools to mix and test and learn on its own, and the system ran 900 plus recipes and 3,500 tests without any human control. And in doing so, it discovered an 8-element catalyst that delivered 9.3 times higher power density per dollar than palladium in a fuel cell. And this fuel cell runs on formulated salt, offering a cheaper, cleaner path to renewable energy. The breakthrough could speed up clean energy innovation and make materials far, far faster than before. This isn't just AI predicting outcomes. This is AI doing real science and creating new outcomes. That's pretty crazy. And speaking of power, if this doesn't cook you out, then I don't know what will. A concrete battery developed at MIT now packs 10 times more power. This innovation could transform structures like buildings and bridges and sidewalks into massive energy storage systems, potentially capable of powering entire cities. The material behind this breakthrough is called electron conducting carbon concrete, or EC cubed. It's made from a mix of cement, water, and a common liquid electrolyte, and it's a very fine carbon powder known as nanoscale carbon black. And when combined, these ingredients form a dense conductive network that can carry an electrical charge. And once the mixture hardens into concrete, it can store and release energy on demand, turning ordinary infrastructure into powerful built-in batteries. Let's break it down even further. So MIT researchers boosted their electric conducting carbon concrete or concrete battery to 10 times the storage capacity through better electrolytes and design. The new concrete stores energy by weaving conductive carbon networks through cement and electrolyte, forming a dense, chargeable structure. And instead of soaking hardened concrete, they now cast this electrolyte mix, letting thicker electrodes form without losing conductivity. And if we want to see how much they've improved their previous design, a previous version needed about 45 meters cubed of electron conducting carbon concrete to power a home for a day. Now they only need about 5 meters cubed, which is about a basement wall's volume. So a prototype arc made of electric conducting carbon concrete held a structural load and powered an LED under mechanical stress, and the light flickered, which hints at, get this, self-monitoring structural health sensing technology. Imagine you have LEDs around your house or maybe on a skyscraper, which will flash if it's detecting a structural issue, right? Some sort of structural stress happening, maybe the precursors of something like an earthquake. or the precursors of something like a sudden potential collapse happening in the next few days. That is absolutely mental. Combining structure with preventative safety measures, electrically, with technology, that's cooked. So a cubic meter of the improvised material can apparently store 2 kilowatt hour, which is enough to power a refrigerator for a day. And I have a backup power system that is 2 kilowatt hour, and that powers my office for like a day and a half. That's mad, right? Obviously, you got to combine the right technologies. You can't just like run a massive electrical unit like a freezer or something like that for the entire day, or try heat up a pool with a 2 kilowatt hour battery backup. But you know what I'm getting at. You can't run a kettle for an entire day. You can probably run a kettle for like an hour and a half, but that's still pretty impressive. So while electric conducting carbon concrete still lags behind things like lithium ion in energy per weight, its ability to integrate storage into infrastructure like walls and bridges and sidewalks could make it revolutionary. And MIT's concrete battery isn't about portable power. Concrete's heavy. It's about turning infrastructure itself into storage, a structural supercapacitor. And I've put together a quick comparison against 3 different types of energy storage solutions, one of which obviously is electric conducting carbon concrete. And if you take a look at something like lithium ion, you have about a 200 to 300 watt hour per kg energy density, meaning for every kg you can have about 200 to 300 watt hour of energy, right? And it has a lifespan of about 1,000 to 3,000 cycles. Then you have a solid state next gen lithium, which has about a 400 watt hour per kg projected, because it's still coming, energy density, and a lifespan of about 5,000 cycles. And then you have concrete, which has about a 2 watt hour per kg energy density, but its lifespan is estimated at over 20 years. Of course, concrete is also much safer. Lithium ion normally carries a very high fire risk, and solid state, which is next gen lithium, is potentially safer. It's less flammable, but it is still flammable, and it's going to be hard to mass produce. And there you have it, electron conducting carbon concrete structural breakthrough. I didn't see that coming. That is cooked. If you're not cooked by now, then you're from the future. Next up, we're taking a look at Microsoft Azure, which has delivered the first large-scale cluster with the NVIDIA GB300 NVL72 for OpenAI workloads. And if you're a gamer or you're at all interested in this kind of technology, this topic should blow your brain, right? This is mega cooked. If you remember GPUs and things, even from today, you're talking about maybe having, 1080, I think had like 8 gigabytes. I think a 4070 Ti has like 16 gigabytes or 12 gigabytes, depending on the model, of VRAM. And here we're going to be taking a look at some systems that are going to blow those numbers straight out the water. Of course, this is for, you're talking about gaming and personal computer use, and now we're talking about supercomputing scale production clusters. But take a listen to this. This is crazy. So Microsoft Azure has launched the NVIDIA GB300 VM series. And Azure is essentially deploying what it calls the industry's first supercomputing scale production cluster built around NVIDIA's GB300 NVL72 systems. This cluster in total consists of more than 4,600 GPUs and 2,400 CPUs. And it's going to be used for tackling frontier AI workloads from models like OpenAI and others. And well, let's break down what is the NVIDIA GB300 NVL72 system that's inside of Azure's NVIDIA GB300 VM series. Well, the NVIDIA GB300 NVL72 system is a rack-scale AI system that bundles 72 NVIDIA Blackwell Ultra GPUs together with 36 NVIDIA Grace CPUs in a single unit. This is all interconnected with NVIDIA's NVLink 5 and an NVLink switch fabric, giving all GPUs a bandwidth connection of 130 terabytes a second within the rack. We're not done yet. This offers a staggering 1.44 exaflops of FP4 tensor performance with a shared memory pool of 37 terabytes. Remember what we said about that GPU with 8 gigs or 12 gigs? 37 terabytes. It's not done yet, right? First, let's break down what an exaflop is. So an exaflop is the scale used to measure a supercomputer's performance. An exaflop stands for 1 quintillion floating point operations per second, which is essentially a billion calculations every second. For comparison, a modern gaming PC has around 5 to 10 teraflops, or trillions of operations per second. So this is getting crazy. So 1 exaflop is 1 million teraflops, which is roughly 100,000 times faster than a high-end gaming rig. Now, the Microsoft Azure NVIDIA GB300 VM series has 64 NVIDIA GB300 NVL72s in it. So this cluster consists of a total of 4,600 NVIDIA Blackwell Ultra GPUs, all linked via a next-gen InfiniBand NVLink Quantum X800 network fabric to function as one unified accelerator. The total offered by this cluster is 92.1 exaflops of FP4 tensor performance with a shared memory pool of 2,360 terabytes or 2.3 petabytes of memory. That is cooked. It's insane. I didn't even, I had to deeply research a lot of these new, the next, what is after terabyte? What is after teraflop? Yeah, man, this is cooked territory. That's where we are right now. A moment of silence for how cooked that is. You might have to watch that again to really get your head around it, but trust me, that's totally cooked. I don't even want to know the power bill on that operation, bro. Not at all. Better get laying some concrete. That's all I'm going to say. Next up, we're taking a look at breakthrough gene therapy slowing down Huntington's disease by 75%. So to understand this topic, we have to break down what is Huntington's disease. Well, it's a genetic brain disorder that causes nerve cells in the brain to break down over time. It's caused by a mutation in the HTT gene, which produces a toxic form of protein called Huntington. This disease is inherited, so if one parent has the gene, their child has a 50% chance of developing it, and symptoms usually appear between the ages of 30 and 50 and gradually worsen over 10 to 20 years. It affects movement, thinking, and behavior, leading to uncontrolled movements, memory loss, mood swings, and difficulty speaking or walking. There's no cure yet, but treatments can help manage the symptoms and improve the quality of life. And that's what this breakthrough is all about. So preliminary results from a small trial offer the clearest evidence yet that the brain disease's progression can indeed be slowed. In a small trial of 29 people who were in the early stages of Huntington's disease, participants who received a high dose of the therapy directly to their brains saw the disease slow by 75% over 3 years compared to those in a controlled group. I love reading about stuff that targets diseases or degenerative issues that has no cure, but there's things being done that can preserve that person's ability to extend their lifespan. It's not a cure, but it's one step closer to a cure, and that is pretty cooked in of itself. Finally, we're taking a look at the last topic of the day. Equally cooked, scientists identify a new Ichthyosaur species in Germany. So a team of researchers from Switzerland and Germany, led by Gail Spincer of the Jurassic Museum in Switzerland, has identified a previously unknown species of Ichthyosaur. The newly recognized species has been named Uriasaurus mistelgogensis, which is a reference to the Mistelgo clay pit in Upper Franconia, and this location is renowned for producing significant fossil discoveries. And there you have it, everybody. That is the end of the Overcooked podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember, if you liked this video and you lasted this long, hit me up in the comments. Well done. You deserve a pat on the back for making it this far. And if you found this at all interesting or helpful or cooked, hit that like button to show your support. And finally, don't forget to tune in next week for the next week's episode. We'll be back at it like a bad habit every single week with your dose of overcooked topics. From myself, Bro Kane, and the rest of the team, have yourself a great week, and we'll see you guys next time. Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.